Spain is the second country in the European Union facing work-related accidents. Over 1,000 workers die every year, for a country that counts over 40 million people. What could be the cause to all this? Working conditions? Lack of professionalism? Or could some companies may just take advantage? To find out a little more about all this, Miguel Ángel Gómez, Secretary of Communications for the CGT in Spain, explains us the reasons. Concerning the accident rates in Spain, I'm not surprised. In fact, I think we're not far from being the first in the European Union. But unfortunately, we are very often the first when it comes to vague contracts and lack of respect to the law, but also the fact that Spain focuses on saving money where it can. The cheaper, the better. The actual labor laws and standards are there, and not bad at all. But the real problem is due to the insignificant funding by the government to apply properly the law. There are fewer labor inspectors in Spain than any other country in the European Union. So, of course, if there is insignificant funding to apply properly the law, there is little that can be done for prevention. However, the Spanish government can afford to uphold its laws, like the campaigns running on right now concerning traffic accidents. Also, many bosses in these companies should take responsibility concerning their working conditions. But of course, you can also have certain lack of professionalism from workers who take too many chances themselves. We have so many cases where workers are hired by COS contracts. This type of contract employs someone only during the time of construction. It can go from years to a week. The problem facing these types of contract is that if a worker doesn't do what he's told, they don't get their contract renewed, even if they're risking their lives. Unfortunately, we are often facing these types of problems. The law could be improved, but at the moment they should hire more inspectors and increase the budget. The rules and regulations should be adapted to all different sectors. The risks are different for construction and agricultural sectors. You could fall or get electrocuted compared to another branch, for example telemarketing, where the risks are much lower, but there can be bad on a long term. Even working in front of a computer screen with headsets can be dangerous. We have had cases where employees took sick days because of depression, chronic migraines, and other sorts of diseases, so prevention should happen at all levels. We have more and more cases where companies go to trial, but avoid having to pay huge sums of compensations just on some technicality. They'll say that the injured worker took some sort of risk himself or refused to obey an order. Therefore, he gets blamed for having taken a risk himself. The unions try to inform the public as best they can. When a worker dies on the job, we organize some protest in his memory, but also denouncing the company that didn't respect the law. The numbers are frightening. Even if the Spanish government claims that the number of accidents went down compared to last year, another figure contradicts this. The number of accidents on the way to work has gone up. Another thing also plays a big role: subcontracting. Miguel explains to us, all companies are equal by law on their obligations, but to give a typical case, a big multinational company that respects regulations takes over a building contract, but then hires what we call ghost companies that are created 1 month before the construction begins, hires employees with COS contracts, then when the job is over, the ghost company closes. With those methods, companies save money and avoid trouble with unions and regulations. To inform people, we have made out brochures for all workers, explaining the rules and regulations related to their profession. With the European Union imposing certain standards, you might think that the conditions would be the same everywhere in the European Union, but there are still many confusions between national standards and European standards. Benjamin Marcus, Madrid, Spain.